Hello and welcome to the Block Talk podcast. I'm your host, Erica Hall. Today we're learning about legislation which fights to end natural hair discrimination. We're also finding out how H&R Block is getting behind the effort and others to ensure associates can bring their authentic selves to work. Now, the Crown Act was first signed into law in 2019 in California, and since that time, 13 states and 28 U.S. cities have adopted the measure, including H&R Block's hometown headquarters of Kansas City, Missouri. Today, I'm sitting down with Leanna Flores, H&R Block's Program Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, and Rochelle Petway from our Actions We Take Committee to learn more about the significant impact the Crown Act is making for the Black community in America. Can you explain to us what the Crown Act is and why it's needed?
The Crown Act allows people not to be, written up for their hair. Whether it's, somebody wears an afro, braids, or somebody wants to wear a head wrap. I believe there was a policy in place, that was maybe a gray area, that you could be sent home or you could be written up because it wasn't perceived as being professional. And being a Black female, you wear braids, you wear wraps. Different religious people you may have, turbans and things like that. And so I really like that H&R Block took a look at that policy, that dress code, and really made it inclusive.
Mm-hmm. It's a law too, I believe, in the state of Missouri and in the state of Kansas. It hasn't gone across the country yet, but it just stops folks from being discriminated against based on the way they wear their hair, any type of tuberculosis points, any type of headdress that they choose to wear. Our dress code, we've been looking at it for a while now and ensuring that it is non-gendered, that it's current, that it's relevant. And the Crown Act and just saying, putting these things into place is super important for us as just a belonging council and the Actions We Take committee to ensure that that's there.
I think, and I think I may or may not have shared this with Liana, one of the reasons why I did join the Actions We Take committee is because of the Crown Act. My very first meeting they were voting on that initiative at H&R Block, and that really tipped the scale for me. Because a lot of times, when you serve on these volunteer boards or councils or whatever, a lot of times people can get caught up in the glitter and the pony and the rainbows. But that initiative that really makes an impact and really makes employees, feel more welcome and feel more that they can bring their true selves. But to me, that was just awesome. And I was like, I really want to be a part of a group that is really making policy changes, not just getting out there, taking the pictures and the photos and politicking, but really the day-to-day things that people struggle with to make them more inclusive.
So how important of a role does leadership play in the adoption of these more inclusive policies?
We have complete support from Jeff and Tiffany, and that's incredibly important. So to have the support from our most senior leaders to say that they also don't stand for discrimination of any kind based on how you look or anything else that you might bring to Block, I think is important to shout out because it doesn't happen globally. And so that has always been something that's been very comforting, and Belonging being led by Sarah Locke and having her as 100% of an ally to the different plights that folks of color, any other marginalized class have is important, because without those people rooting for us and helping us champion these things, we wouldn't get anywhere. So I love beating that drum and evangelizing that message to folks outside of our belonging groups and outside of our council, is that everyone is rooting for us to win at Block.
I want to thank our guests for sharing your experiences with us today. We really appreciate it. To learn more about the Crown Act, just go to www.naacpldf.org/Crown Act. And be sure to rate, review, and share this podcast with your friends. Thanks for listening.